They claim that there is no longer any alternative to the Iranians. Well, they send a message that is obviously important because the conflict is about to escalate to a level that, according to what they say, has never been seen before. And this is one of the most moderate figures, but they claim that there is no alternative, that they don't see any possible way out in the negotiations, which also needs to be said. What they were sending in the negotiations, the proposals they were sending, were not really proposals, but rather a wish list. Basically, all the red lines that they know the United States cannot accept, well, they sent all of them. Not only did they send them, but they also sent extra things, like the fact that they want to control the Strait of Hormuz. Saying there's no alternative doesn't mean one doesn't exist. It means they don't want one, and we must be clear about that. Sostenible. The current members of the regime claim that there is no other alternative, and in light of this, they say that in the Middle East, either the war stops or the conflict will simply expand in an unsustainable way. They claim accepting the Iranian people's rights, as laid out in the 14-point proposal, is the only option. That's essentially their entire message. The only viable option for this to stop is for them to accept the 14 negotiation points, which is to keep the uranium, maintain the nuclear program, keep control of the Strait of Hormuz, and continue with the production of ballistic missiles. That's everything. They want it all and something extra. That would basically be a separate issue. They also want money. Money, which has been blocked by the United States for many years. And it's billions of dollars that could be returned to the Iranians, specifically to the regime. It doesn't mention any other approach. I mean, any other possible solution. It basically says it's just going to fail, that it won't be viable. In other words, the details of the proposal are basically either our conditions are met or there is no negotiation. No matter how it turns out, basically. What this shows is that there's almost no possibility of negotiation at this moment. At least, that's what the Iranians themselves seem to suggest in this case. Specifically, the president of the parliament, who is the one giving this message, Mohammad Bakr Kalibaf. He is the person, I insist, who apparently seems calmer, as he shows that not only is there no possibility, but it's a topic in which, if the moderates talk like this, just imagine what the generals of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard must be thinking. In any case, the supreme leader, if he is actually active, what does he think? I mean, what approach is he going to take toward the conflict? Another issue that also draws attention is what's happening with the Hantavirus cases. There's also some news about that. According to the report, there are already 10 positive Hantavirus cases. In this case, the number of positive Hantavirus cases is associated with the outbreak on the MV John Dios cruise ship. Confirming up to now, 10 positive cases. This is after tests were done on a US citizen who has been confirmed as negative. Now, there are only 10 cases. There is also a Spanish case that was confirmed as positive. Health sources clarified. They stated that extreme care must be taken to prevent this from continuing to increase. It is being studied whether this case or these cases are of human origin. Además, Tedros Adhanom stated at a press conference in Madrid, together with the president of the Spanish government, Pedro Sánchez, where he expressed his gratitude and gave a message to the people of Tenerife, saying that they had obviously risen to the occasion during this crisis. In addition, it was reported that the start date of the quarantine which the passengers of the John Dios cruise ship must observe has been changed. The new date is May 10, when it was originally May 6. With the 42 days of strict supervision, it will conclude on June 21. So on June 21, these people will still be in quarantine, or that's what the WHO is asking for. Now, whether that actually happens, I don't know, but we'll see. It has been assured the risk assessment for the global health risk from the outbreak is very low. It's not zero. I mean, there is still a small possibility that this could become a more global problem. But so far, It says that the probability, so far it insists, is low, not zero. That's also important because a lot of people think it's not a problem, that the problem is not small. I mean, the probability of the problem is low, but I insist it's not zero. And that needs to be understood very well by the health systems of each country, like the CDC or the Ministry of Health, all those kinds of organizations, those kinds of situations, right? Take that into account too. By the way, a huge shout out to everyone in the community watching us live. Thanks for sharing, for liking, for leaving your comments. That's awesome. For hyping us up too, right? Which is obviously important so the channel can be here every day, keeping you informed about what's happening in the world. Let's move on to other important matters as well. There's a message from President Donald Trump practically right before boarding the presidential helicopter in which he says the following. Listen to this.
So what happened is that we have a ballroom that's under budget. It's going to be right here. I've doubled its size because obviously we need it. And right now we're within budget, under budget, and ahead of schedule. I doubled the size, you fool. I doubled the size. You're not a smart person. Right here. Wait a moment. Right here. And based on many things that have happened over the past year, we have doubled the size of the ballroom. So we are going to have a ballroom that is appropriate for the White House. We doubled the size. The ballroom is now ahead of schedule and a little under budget, depending on the finishes we use.
Well, Trump says that, but what he's saying is a lie. Obviously, he knows it. That's why he gets angry with the journalist, because she calls him out. If it used to cost $200 million and now it costs $400 million. Obviously, you doubled the budget. It's not that it's reduced. It's that it's going to be bigger. If it's going to be twice the size, then the budget will double. But it's not because it doubled. It's because the size increased. The project grew. Potato or not, as they say. I mean, really, we don't really understand how Trump thinks. It's not what he says. They call him an idiot. They call him all sorts of things. Dumb, person dumb. I don't know what else. Well, that's Trump's approach, right? He says, well, that honestly, let's see if politicians here in Mexico and Latin America don't copy him. No. The budget didn't increase. It's just bigger. Now it's going to look nicer. It's going to have better paint, whatever you want to call it, right? But, well, this is like the other day when they held an event here at a hospital. A politician was holding an event. I mean, he organized an event because literally he brought a few little fans, the ones that spin, and held an event to show off that he was giving those away, right? So, quote unquote, let's move on to this case. They're accusing Iran of sabotage inside Kuwait. At this moment, the government of Kuwait claims that the Iranian regime is infiltrating with the Revolutionary Guard inside Kuwait to organize attacks within the territory. So pay attention to this issue. Because I insist, not only has the war not ended, but it's also transforming in a rather strange way. Let's see where Kuwait is located. It's at the bottom of the Persian Gulf, right? Over here, all of this is Iran on this side, the whole front. And here are the Gulf countries, right? From Oman all the way to Iraq, which is this little piece right here that has a coastline with the Persian Gulf. And Kuwait is, well, this country, right? I mean, the Persian Gulf or the Arabian Gulf, as it's also called. Right? But anyway, according to reports from Kuwait, they have detected the presence of an armed unit in Tehran. Just imagine this, by the way, was discovered on Bubiyan Island, where infrastructure is being developed, supposedly backed by Chinese capital. So China is involved everywhere. I mean, China, well, in the end, it's a very big country that also has interest in Iran, but it's also interested in the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates already has defense systems that China installed for the Arabs. The Arabs right now, they have business precisely on that island, right? Let me make sure I've got the right island so I can show the correct one. I don't want to show a different one. Miss, it's this one, look. This island. It's this one. Yeah, this one. No, it's this island. The one at that point, which I insist has investments. Strong rumors suggested the Chinese were also operating, or that Iranian Revolutionary Guard troops were already inside. They were already here operating inside. According to what is known, today an armed military team from the Revolutionary Guard was already ready to attack on the island, where, by the way, there is a port project funded by China. Right before the president of the US, Donald Trump, traveled to Beijing, this operation was taking place. Iran, for now, has not responded to this comment. The accusation comes after the US ambassador in Israel, Mike Huckabee, stated that Israel also sent anti-missile batteries and the Iron Dome to the United Arab Emirates, right? But from the start, well, Cuba is on alert because of this. And look, just notice how close they are to Iran. Let's measure the distance from the border, from the total border of the East, like how it goes from the Iraqis, right? Look, it's 17 kilometers. Here's Iran and here's the island. It's very easy for the troops to invade this island and take it or carry out sabotage, whatever it may be. The thing here is that we're talking about something that's also of interest to China, right? Let's remove the measurements, eliminate the measurements, and, well, what are we talking about? I don't know what the intention behind this is. This operation really draws a lot of attention. Obviously, I'd like to see some images from here to see if we can. I have, but we'll get to that later. Since it's the island, I'm curious how the Chinese-made port is turning out, right? Well, let's move on to some other interesting topics. Other matters that also catch my attention, not within all these images that have been generated or rather shown, right? This image that we are going to analyze later today at night is not among them. Oh, let's see this, not this. These objects that the Ukrainians have detected, pretty strange objects, right? But they seem similar to the ones the Americans themselves have been revealing, right? Some kinds of star-shaped objects. And in these declassifications from the United States, it also shows how other countries have theirs too. Their own strange situations, right? And they're also trying to interpret what kind of objects these are, right? Among the strange or unusual things that are happening, there's also a comment about Ana Paulina Luna. About her, the US Congresswoman, who has been one of the most active Congresswomen when it comes to disclosure, right? Let's listen to what Ana Paulina Luna has to say about this declassification and about what's happening.
Let's listen. We were denied access to the SIF. For now, not only does the president support us, Congress will send them a letter. As Representative O'Hill said, if they deny access, we will use the Holman rule to take away their funding.
And the leadership told me that it was blocked by the intelligence community, not by the intelligence committee, but by the intelligence community. And that has a really intimidating effect. If someone can pierce the veil of government and penetrate it to the point where we don't have access to something, you have to start asking yourself who the hell is in charge. And I think it would be wise for them to start reviewing some of the financial statements of those corporations, of some of the people who put up obstacles in this city. And that's what we're going to start doing. We're going to start talking to people. We're going to start naming names. I want you to think about this. Think about this. Something with the ability to travel light years without showing a thermal signature, with that kind of energy capability, that would leave the Pentagon out of the game. We wouldn't be fighting against the eye.
Well, look at what it says. It's Paulina Luna and also Tim Burche, two United States congressmen who have been working alongside others. They are Republicans, but there are also other Democrats who have been focused on declassification. But look at what they say. They themselves have been blocked not by Congress's Intelligence Committee, but by intelligence itself. That is, the intelligence agencies. They don't say which ones, right? It could be the CIA, NSA, maybe the FBI. I don't know which agency, but someone's blocking their access to videos and documents they know exist but don't want to reveal. Why? Why are they being blocked like that? And the question that someone from the government, from Congress, asks themselves is, who is really governing? This requires analysis. This is something we need to talk through tonight at length. Not sure what you all think, but I find the topic interesting. Well, it shows you that even at those levels, there are limits, right? And you can't just give access. And they're even talking about taking away their funding because they're the ones in Congress responsible for giving funds to the intelligence agencies. So let's get started. If we have to cut funding, if they don't want to give us the information, we cut their funding. See if that hurts them, right? But what? This topic is taking some very interesting turns. That's why I was telling you, Pandora's box has been opened because, I mean, maybe they innocently thought, let's just put out a few little lights and flashes we've picked up and that'll be it. No, that's just the beginning, because that's when the real pressure starts. So then you'll say, if you have information and a lot of it, and if there are things happening, it's just that you denied it for years and years and years. And now you're showing us that yes, there is information and that everything that was being said, well, it was right in front of us and it was happening. And you don't have the power to go after these objects that are just flying around like it's nothing. They operate in military bases, in nuclear areas. They enter places where, in theory, they shouldn't be able to enter. You have a lot of information that you don't want to make public. And on top of that, you block Congress. Forget about the people who say, okay, for security reasons, I won't share it nationally. Okay, that could also be the case. They don't even tell Congress. That's why I say, wow. No, because you block it, right? They're the ones providing the budget. If not, how do you explain it? What are they hiding? And they're not just discussing that. Another key issue in all of this is that military corporations and very, very, very advanced technology companies are also getting involved here. As far as we know now, they are the ones who truly have the largest amount of information and images. I mean, not the government, but certain companies like Martin and others, some of which aren't even that well known. Martin is the most famous, but not the most important in that area. So there's also, well, this is a big topic, right? Honestly, it's a very interesting topic that we're already analyzing. Let's move on to other important topics. I was telling you that there's a reaction from Donald Trump regarding the issue of Cuba. The President of the United States announced today, May 12, that they are in talks with the Cuban government. According to reports, Trump says it's a failed country, that Cuba is asking for help, that we're going to go talk, that they're going to negotiate, but he didn't give any more details. I mean, he didn't say anything else. He didn't give more information. So, well, there's still some doubt about this topic. Another thing that stands out today is that there are, well, a move that the company Google made to catch the first hacker. They managed to catch the first hacker who used artificial intelligence to break the digital lock. But they say there are others behind this hacker who might be trying the same thing. Artificial. For years, it was known that artificial intelligence was going to help these hackers. And today, an artificial intelligence team that focuses on hacking threats reportedly confirmed that for the first time, a criminal group used an artificial intelligence model to discover and create a previously unknown vulnerability in a piece of software that is quite popular, which they haven't specified, but which was detected. No? So in light of this, in this situation that is becoming more and more visible due to human errors, software vulnerabilities, or whatever the reason may be, failures are being detected that before, without AI, were never seen, never discovered. And now, thanks to these AI systems, flaws are being uncovered. Even the hackers themselves are causing failures that are considerably risky and can also put platforms, emails, and all these kinds of things at risk. That's important too. It was known. The problem was coming, and now it's being detected. By the way, also speaking of hacking, the Forza Horizon 6 game is being announced. If it does end up happening, or if it's played before the release of Forza Horizon, there could be a penalty of 8,000 years, according to reports. The leak that has given early access to Forza Horizon 6 has triggered a very serious measure from Playground Games, the Xbox studio. It is said that a player was sanctioned with a ban that extends to 9,999 years, which is practically 8 millennia, a little more than 8 millennia of exclusion. So they won't be able to use the platform and your name stays banned, right? But let's say that's the kind of punishment that has also been taken a bit as a joke. But well, that's part of what's happening, right? People get banned for, it says here, 8,000 years more or less, a little less than 8,000 years. According to the reports, there's some hype, there's some excitement for Forza Horizon 6, which they say is spectacular for those who have played the previous ones. Well, I did play the previous one. It's very interesting. It's really good. I never played it with a steering wheel or anything like that. It's going to be a much more interesting experience to drive it like that, in that way, right? I suppose. But, well, it's this one too. Well, that's part of what's being reported at that moment. Let's go quickly to the comments. How have you been? Thank you so much to those who have been with us, right? From, well, the different live streams we've had. Later on, we'll be updating other matters, obviously, but we're trying to update it day by day, moment by moment, right? So we're preparing the, let's say, the report, and we're moving on to different topics. Thank you very much for joining us. I think the next one will be on the street, right? I think we'll have to be out on the street, but there's another update coming later, maybe in the afternoon and so on. Well, we'll keep in touch, right? Let's see how things go. It doesn't hurt to show you a little bit of other parts of Monterrey. This one, what a punishment, says Cesar. Yeah, I know. It's strange. I mean, I guess people just change their names, but it's this. If you had an account that was very, well, maybe with a lot of affection or whatever, because maybe you end up left out and that's maybe not your name. I don't know how they do the banning there, says Marvin. We just don't know. Only that they do. Senators want to cut the strings pulled by the real power brokers in the United States. They're not going to succeed, says Marvin. He says, you think it's not possible. At least a little more, right? A little more information, little by little, you can gather a little more information here and there. We'll see, right? But I do think you realize that those layers of power and hidden information, well, they're there, right? They're layers that, if anyone had doubts that they exist, I think everyone agrees that they're there. At least I think many of us are clear on that. Those layers are there. So suddenly, yes, maybe there are people who want to avoid the topic and say, no, that's just crackpot talk. But I'm not saying that. I mean, suddenly there are things that might sound really strange to us. Or there are people who really are crazy, right? Who just make things up, right? But there really are some intense things that aren't seen, right? That aren't meant to be observed, etc. Our crystal ball doesn't say. Those layers are there for a reason. Nothing is created for no reason. It's also like that. That's a good point, right? Or they're created for a reason now. Why this greeting? Our crystal ball always has very interesting comments. Greetings also to Cesar, to Blanca Barcelo. How are you, Blanca? What do you think about this? These struggles, right? These topics. Well, just remember, I'm just saying, just a reminder. We're on Telegram, we're on WhatsApp, and that's where you get the notifications, right? But you can also send a heads up or a message, a text, a voice note. Hey, Pepe en Vivo, have you checked this out? Or are you seeing this? Or I think this, right? All of that is interesting too, right? Well, let's go, right? Let's go. A big greeting to the whole community. Thank you so much for joining us. See you later in other videos, also important ones. See you later.